Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey everybody, welcome to Paranormal Karen. We're back with one of your favorites. He breaks the internet every time he's on. Ryan Singer is here. Ryan from me. I jumped in too fast. Ryan, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing okay. It's we're recording this on the last day of. I don't want to timestamp this, Karen.
Oh,
but
I timestamp all of them. People know I'm too lazy to do it last minute. So, like, I made a bunch of predictions on my prediction podcast that I think already happened. So,
yeah. So it's the last day of 2021 or 2020. Wow, I'm getting ahead of ourselves. Yeah. So it's I've kind of transitioned into this interesting perspective about what 2020 was, where I feel like these elite athletes who only want to compete against the top competition to prove how good they are. Mm-hmm. I feel like 2020 was one of these, elite athletes that showed up and said, let's see what you really got to everybody. Right. And it was like it was a challenge. Like, mm-hmm. let's see how well you can play this game. Because you've been kind of playing against some scrubs in the past. So let's see you really step up and see if you can handle some real competition. And I'd like to think that, most of us accepted that challenge and have tried our best to, raise our game in that regard. So I'm interested to see if 2021 is going to be like a continuation of that game, or if it's going to be, okay, the final whistle blows and now we can, drink some Gatorade and relax for a minute or not.
That's so interesting. And folks, by the way, we're gonna Ryan has something great to tell us all about, but I love this sort of offshoot because of what today is. It's funny. I taped I think one of the most enlightening podcasts I ever taped was the other day. Folks, you'll hear it January 29th, so it's in the past. We're in the past, but we're in the future kind of right now. We're in a strange spot where you're hearing us. And she channeled a fallen angel, a demon, and talked about what they do and about how their job is not to be evil, but to balance out when there's too much good, to get everything balanced out. And there's a strange thing going on because I think I just put up a tweet that said, for everyone that thinks 2021 is going to be great, remember, spoiled milk is still spoiled milk the next day. So I think we still have some stuff to do, because one of the things we asked the demon was about their job is to keep us in balance and to sort of balance out our world. And we said, how are we doing? And he was like, not good. You're not doing good. So I think I think 2021 is going to break in the way that 2020 should have. And I'm a revolutionary, Ryan.
Yes, I know this very well.
You're a pacifist, and I'm waiting for everything to implode.
Yes. Yeah. I'd like to think I'm like some of an active pacifist, but, trying to actively spread peace. But the interesting thing too is, the turning of the calendar, while symbolic and, has great meaning for most of us, and starting fresh and starting anew. Although, I usually feel like when, the sun doesn't set at 4:45 is when I start to feel like the new day is beginning, so like I usually feel like that. My New Year's Eve is usually around, when spring really kicks into gear. But, there's not like a magic little light switch that just pops on January 1st, right, where, okay, everything gets, a clean slate. Although, to some degree there is, but, and I like people using these, visualizations and, opportunities to really, start something new that they want, or cut out old things that they no longer want.
Goals. Yeah. But personal goals, I think, are great for birthdays and New Year's.
Yeah, I agree. But there's accountability for everybody to, because I think that's the one thing, especially here in America, we just kind of were riding on the coattails of this myth about how great America has always been. And 2020 really woke us all up, especially, specific demographics of this country woke us up to, you know what, the myth of America it hasn't been the same for everybody. Right. And not everybody got to just ride on the wings of the bald eagle into prosperity and endless, boundless freedom and joy as we were, policing the world for the betterment of all. And it's, and so we really, most of us, or a lot of us, woke up to that who had been kind of asleep at the wheel during the last, 20, 30, 50 years. And while a lot of other people were like, in a waking nightmare, essentially. So there's accountability. And so, going back to that light switch that isn't going to just flip automatically, you have to like flip it yourself. And so I think 2020 made a lot of us reach for the wall and flip that switch. And, it's shocking when you're in complete darkness and then all of a sudden you're surrounded by a bunch of light. I mean, that's the one thing that people don't talk about that much when it comes to like, and the pushback. And like, because like if you just have your eyes open in like a dark room and then someone flips on a light switch, you're going to be blinded for a second. It's like you have to adjust your vision. And so I think hopefully a lot of our visions have been adjusting. I know mine has been, and hopefully I'm now acclimating to the light and can, now I can just see better. But it wasn't comfortable. That's for sure.
No. And, do you find this, and some of you folks, like, again, we're back around New Year's Day. I am on a Marco Polo of a whole bunch of healers and psychics, and this is almost strangely, the energy of the earth right now is almost strangely hellish on our bodies in strange ways. Headaches or, not feeling like you're in a void. Like it's just been very, very odd. This sort of, I know the age of Aquarius didn't come in and we didn't flip it that fast, but there's definitely on the positive side, I think some changes that are coming to us with abilities or psychic abilities or stuff like that are being eased in. But everybody's pets are getting sick. It's like a weird, I don't know if you've felt any like strangeness in the universe outside of our usual strangeness.
Yeah. It's interesting because 2 nights ago I was like trying to fall asleep. I couldn't fall asleep. And I was like, why do I have a headache? And because I don't know, I'm very lucky in a lot of ways. I'm like one of the luckiest people I know, like in many regards. And I'd like to think that I'm aware of that, but I had a headache and I just remember laying there thinking, I never get headaches. And I know there's some people who are probably like, you son of a bitch, like, how lucky are you? And I know I'm very lucky because it's very rare that I get a headache. So when I get a headache, it really sends something off in me. Like, okay, what's going on here? It's one of these flags that pops up for me to be like, okay, I have to pay attention to what's happening around me or, what's going on or what I did today or what I've been ingesting as food and things like that, because it's something it's strange. It's out of the normal. And that is, definitely something that I'm not accustomed to. And it kind of spoke to, some changes I was trying to incorporate into my life and some other things. And I never really suffered, at least that I was aware of, from anxiety until this year, at least on a regular basis. And I mean, we all have anxiety and anxious moments, but it wasn't until this year that I started, having, daily anxiety to the point where it became, I was talking to, my buddy, Mark, who's a therapist, and I've been talking with him for like a year and a half. And, he does like tantric based therapy and incorporates your birth chart and, all kinds, it's like psycho-spiritual counseling he does for people. But, anyway, we had this great discussion just a couple of days ago because he was saying, your body gets used to patterns. And so I would wake up, almost every morning and be anxious, right? And COVID, the election that was still months away, and all these other things. Career, like stand-up comedy, has disappeared. Like, my whole livelihood has vanished. So what's going on? So there was a lot of anxiety. But then, as soon as we settle and find our feet, if we're experiencing something physically for long enough, it becomes a pattern to where now I would wake up and my body would be like, well, this is when we feel anxiety. And so it would signal to my brain, find something to be anxious about, man. Even though I wasn't, because my body's like, so my brain's going like, well, I'm anxious. What am I anxious about? And so now I'm like grasping into the cloud of my consciousness, trying to find anything. Yeah, trying to find worries to match. It's like that card game where you have a bunch of cards, face down, and you flip up one, and then you keep trying to find the match with the other card. And so I realized that I was like, okay, I have to retrain my body physically. Like this isn't all just about, meditation or like, like the intellectual or the emotional aspect of things. I have to physically be in touch with my body here and like retrain it to, be a chill dude.
Not only there's like 2 or 3 things I think going on that I could not agree with you more. And it's I'll tell you this. I love that you say you're lucky, because I feel like this year I have felt that I'm lucky, that you're lucky more than ever. No, that I'm lucky more than ever. I sit around, boy, Ryan is lucky. In every way, and including physically, because I just have a tendency to push myself, and my body is like, all right, we'll do more. And it just keeps going. And I'm 55 and it's like, we're not running out of energy yet. We haven't fallen down yet. But it's been, especially these last months, it's like sugar. It has like my body will let me know, you got to hear us. You're having too much sugar. You're doing too much this. You're doing too much that. Slow down. Don't work out so much. I'm getting those messages. But also, this is something that Ryan has 17 podcasts and they're all great. So you want to listen to all of them. But there's a different thing going on for people that are empathic at all, which is making us turn up that thing about how, listen to your body. But pretty much the consensus is that there's no more veil, that stuff is here. And so empaths and psychics are being more, it's almost a little bit of an attack. And so it is like the other day I sort of got a download about, you got to clean out your body now. You got to clean it out. The crap that's in there, we're not putting it up with it anymore. And I think that seems like a universal message.
Wow. Yeah. It as you're saying this, the visual image that pops into my mind is a shower head that hasn't been cleaned in too long. And the spray, the flow of the water is being clogged by the buildup. And which would be, fluoride in your water, sugar, some people would say red meat or any meat at all, processed foods, things like that. They're clogging up our shower head, and we forget how powerful that the water can actually blast out of there. And then along comes this past year that kind of does an unexpected visit from the plumber, gives the clean, and you're sitting in the shower just kind of having a little trickle. And all of a sudden you're like, ow, my back, like what's going on? This water's coming out too hard. And then it slowly, maybe builds up again, or we start, our initial reaction is to like, okay, I need to block some of these things because this water's hitting me too hard.
Yeah. That's a great analogy. You're the analogy guy today at 11:11. You're the analogy guy. Do you, and this is a weird question, and everybody probably knows Ryan has probably the scariest story, probably one of the scariest stories I've ever heard, if not the scariest, about something that happened to him. To go listen to it, but it's kind of about a cryptoid. Do you feel you have backed off from psychic or intuitive stuff since then, or you leaned into it since your scary story?
Well, I would say initially I backed off because just because I was in you could say it's, post-traumatic stress, from which and to some degree I still experience. And, I specifically sought out towards the end of last summer, I specifically sought out a post-traumatic stress, disorder therapist who I've been seeing ever since. And it's, the joke is, I could have used therapy for years, but it took Bigfoot to get me through the door. But, and so I specifically sought out a PTSD therapist, psychiatrist for that, one who doesn't, prescribe medications, which I'm not against medications. If people are on, those kind of medications, and it's helping their life, I'm all for it.
That seems like and this is probably a generalization I'll get. If chemistry is off, I think that's good. I think, but you had a mental trauma more so than a chemistry issue. Yeah,
exactly. And, I agree 100% with what you just said. And so I think initially there was, pullback, and a lot of it was physical for me. And, I used to dream like every day and visualize owning a mountain house in Big Bear or Lake Arrowhead, before that event. For years, I'd be looking at mountain houses on Zillow, and, I have to like force myself to even look at a mountain house, like on Zillow, like, oh, would I buy this house someday? I still, like, if I spend 10 seconds visualizing myself living in the mountains, it quickly turns into a non-enjoyable experience in my mind. Like, I don't see myself spending any time like in a place like that, because of the fear that's still there.
There's such a, I do the same thing because I want a mobile home in a plot of land. And then I think about, we do scary stuff, Ryan. And I think about, well, it is nice to know that a neighbor would hear you scream. That is that should be on a t-shirt. It is, everybody's leaving the city. It is nice to know a neighbor would hear you scream as you're being murdered. Something comforting about that. But I have the same, like sometimes at night, although my whole complex is very haunted, I wake up, things wake me up, and I think, really, you want to live alone in a house? You want to live alone in a house, and you can't even do this up here on the second floor. But
it is funny how, like, I was looking at this house in my old hometown, outside of Dayton, Ohio, just yesterday, and it's kind of in a remote area. It's right by like a river and a state park. And it's super, super cheap. And it's in one of the most haunted towns in Ohio. It's called Waynesville, Ohio. And I was like, oh man,
because Ohio is wicked haunted.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, oh, I'll buy this house right now. It's like so cheap. It's like, $50,000 for like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Right. And so I'm like, I'll buy this house right now. And then I'm like I was talking to a friend of mine, on the phone, and I was like, oh yeah. And or it was actually my roommate, Peter. I was talking to him. I was like, oh yeah. And it's in one of the most haunted towns in Ohio. And he's like, no wonder why it's so cheap. And I was like, yeah, why am I getting so excited about buying a house? And just, and I'm thinking about, okay, what if I was just there by myself in the middle of the night, and I'm like, what am I even really thinking about here? But I do think I've slowly but surely started getting back into like trying to, deeply tap into, the psychic stuff and, transition back into, and due to the world being kind of shut down, I haven't been able to do really any investigations, per se, like out, quote unquote, in the field. So I haven't even been, approached with a situation where I had to make a decision about going or not. But I will say this, even after the event, I was much more open to, say, doing a paranormal investigation in like a haunted location than doing something like a field investigation for cryptids or something of that nature. Like that, the paranormal investigation of a haunting still doesn't, my experience didn't affect my willingness to really do that.
It is, yeah, it's hard though. Now you go in, all the ghosts are wearing masks. You know what? I have 3 questions for you. But I got one. I have to tell you, we just worked on a case where, or I was part of, not much, but a little tad part of a case where someone became possessed, and they moved into a house in a very high rent area, and the rent was free. Can you imagine? They said I could live there for free. And I was like, there's a problem if you're living in Beverly Hills for free. There's something in the apartment that don't go to free places. So hang on one second, folks. We'll be right back. I'm going to clean out my shower head. Hey, everybody. You know I only bring you the best in readers and healers, and that's why I'm here to talk about Paul Jasek. Paul was the guy you all went nuts for on the New Year's prediction show, as you should. He was fantastic. He's one of my favorite people, and not only is he a reader, he's also an entertainer. So when you book with him, you know you're in for some fun as well. He's not only accurate, he's one of the most compassionate human beings I've ever met, which means he can tell you how it is without scarring you for life. We all know those readers that blurt stuff out or try to work out their own shadow side on us. That's not Paul. Paul is going to give you the information you need and have you walking away inspired. That's Paul Jasek. You can book with him at www.paul.jasek.com. All right, so we're back. So these are 3 things that I'd love your opinion on, Ryan. First of all, and this is what I think the New Year's is about, I feel like instant manifestation in working on ourselves. Like, it's so funny. I found like the most incredible therapist this year. Like, it feels like I've never found a good therapist. And then it was like someone was telling me about their therapist, and I was like, I've got to have her number. So I said, I want to get over having to be right, like in an argument, having to be right. So right now, first of all, I have a boyfriend that doesn't really speak English. He speaks Spanish, so it's a very, you can't argue that well. There's and then I swear to God, Ryan, the day I said that, no matter what I said, people came up against me like, yeah, I don't think that's right. Like, it was like instant challenge. Like, I thought, don't ever say that again. Don't ever try and fix that again. Have you found that instant sort of things coming right, boomerang right back at you?
That's interesting. Yeah, there is like, I think it does happen. It does happen pretty quick, right? I know in the past, I learned years ago that the more I talked smack about somebody, whether it was to a close friend or whatever, the universe would pretty quickly put that person in my life. Or bring them to me, right? So people are always like, "Oh, you're such a nice guy. You never, you don't talk badly about people." And I was like, "Oh, I mean, yeah, either I'm a nice guy or I just don't want to have to be around the people I don't like."
That's a great way to say it.
It's and I try my best to not harbor hatred for anybody, but it does. The lag time does seem to shorten itself lately when it comes to the things we're trying to, really focus on and manifest. And I can't say necessarily that like the big things I've been trying to work. I mean, because the big things I've been trying to work on, I've been trying to work on for a year and a half since I've been in therapy. And I do think everybody would benefit from therapy. No matter who they are or what they've experienced. But especially in the paranormal world, I have this conversation a lot about like the shame that's attached with, going to a therapist. And, especially when you go to a therapist and you want to bring up like, oh, I was in the woods and this creature screamed at me. Like I can't go into a therapist, a mainstream therapist office and say that. And I'm here to tell you, you can. And if you can do it like me, you can just wait a couple sessions, let them get to know you a little bit, and then you drop it on them, which is what I did. And he doesn't seem to think that I'm a lunatic at all.
As they should. Yeah. They're not supposed to judge you as crazy, or they're not supposed to turn you down a road that's a good therapist.
Yeah. So, but when it comes to, I think it's an opportunity for people. What you're talking about is to, really, really try to center their intention on, okay, what it is I really do want. And, because so many of us have been unintentionally manifesting drama in our own lives. Even though we act like we don't want it, we feed off the energy of it, right? So, and it makes us feel alive. So we've been manifesting that. And I think people find that, like you said, if that's still what you're subconsciously or just unknowingly really trying to manifest in your life, it's coming to you like almost immediately. And there's so many opportunities for it nowadays. And so maybe, I think that probably speaks to what you're talking about.
And also, and this is a weird one on the drama, but when we were talking about being grateful, I had a longtime client that I think I don't know if she'll be back, because I went on and on with her. I went way over the time, and she couldn't stop. I don't have a husband. I'm 35 and I don't have a husband. And I really kind of lost it. Like, people don't have food. Yeah, people don't have food right now. And you can't, you know what I mean? Like, she couldn't get out of that loop of how important that was. So gratitude, yes. The other thing, this is just an interesting side note that I've noticed, is a lot of people think that I don't like drama in my life, and yet they sit in the middle of a tornado of it very calm. Like, they create a tornado that's everybody else's drama. So stay aware of that too, folks. There's nothing wrong.
Oh yeah, because I was gonna say, like, it's interesting whenever you hear someone say, I don't like drama, or usually that's followed with a 15-minute soliloquy about all the drama that's going on. And, and I used to be one of those people, and I'm not better than that. I used to be one of those people, like, I avoid drama. Oh, but let me tell you this, let me tell you about someone else's drama, right? It's like, so it's like this weird gossipy drama cocktail that was just intoxicating, right?
Yes. And yes, it has an element of adrenaline to it.
And my favorite part too about like gossip specifically, and I'm not trying to go against, modern day science, even though, I do have my problems with the, strictly materialistic worldview of how science has become, God for so many people. But they say, well, gossip was a sign of, building, even, monkeys, or apes will gossip. It builds community, and it's a bonding activity between apes. So stop talking so badly about gossip. And I'm like, okay, and now we're scientifically justifying talking shit about people. Like, is that what we're going to do here? There's lots of ways to bond, and disparaging other people when they're not around, whether it has any scientific merit, it doesn't indicate to me in any way whether it's an activity that can be embraced.
Right. And apes throw their poop around too, but I don't think we should go there.
Exactly.
Never miss a ape poop joke if you can.
Yeah, it's like you put 100 monkeys in a room with 100 typewriters. It's inevitable that you're going to get a transcript for TMZ.
You know what? I challenge that. I don't have 100 monkeys, but I don't think it's going to happen. But you know what, too? My friend has a really good point on that. We're off on so many topics. See, this happens. I just turned on the phone with you and we were hitting a million things. My friend says you have to have one person to vent to when you're talking to two or more, then it's gossip. And I kind of agree with that. But I think sometimes when you have one good friend that you can be honest with, you can work out your own stuff, your own shit. You can be like, and I always know, like, if it's a mirror, what I don't like about them, I have in me. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I just got this great idea that I'm going to use. I'm going to find an old sponge that I no longer use. I'm going to get a Sharpie and draw a face on it. And then that's going to be my person to vent to. And I'll just vent all of my whatever into that sponge, and I'll come up with a name later. Maybe Gerald. Gerald? Did I mean to say Jared? And I said Gerald.
How about Spongy?
And then, yeah, hey, Gerald, it's Jared, Ryan. Well, Gerald, see, I hate how you want to be called Jared. It's my name, Ryan. Well, let me call you what I want to call you, Gerald. And then and then you just wring it out at the end down the drain with some water, and maybe that's a good way to release these things. So this is an exercise. I'm going to make $1 million off this, sewing sponges with faces on it.
Marketing Gerald, and then have everyone go on TikTok and tag you on them yelling at their sponge.
Yeah. Okay. Now it sounds like I'm going to have a TikTok account running here soon.
That's what I'm looking to. I'm trying to do tarot news on TikTok, like hold up the tarot card that goes with the news. That's another one of my ideas that'll never come to be, but it comes out.
Because it's not like you're ever motivated to do ideas and create content. I mean, like, you're one of these people that everybody's like, I wish Karen would just get off her butt and do some stuff.
I know, I can't keep up. I can't. All right. Okay. Question number 2, because we haven't even gotten to the great thing, which was the reason why we started this podcast. Not that I need a reason to talk to you. Psychic stuff. We were talking about psychic, this is what I think is happening. So I wrote a very specific manifestation, and I asked to see and hear more psychic things. And I made sure I said, but make it my choice when they can see me. I don't know if I have that choice. So I've been trying to see things, and this is what's so interesting. This is a human reaction, is now I've started seeing things, and I have to fight to cut it off. Like, I saw a small thing moving across my bed, which we have haunted things in these buildings, and everybody else talks about it jumping on the bed. And I saw it as sort of I couldn't see it, but I could see there was a disturbance in the space. I don't know if that makes sense. And I had to, because we say we want to see it, and then we go, no. And I had to stop myself and go, okay, if you want to see it, just watch it follow. And it went right through the wall. What is your, are you now, would you be on that boat? Would you want to see something? Or are you like, nah, I think I've seen enough?
Wow. I heard this interesting, gosh, I'm racking my brain right now trying to remember who told it to me.
Geraldo.
Gerald told me the other day when I was sponging to him that when it comes to, it was in Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, the documentary that's on Prime about the making contact through consciousness and through intent and intention, that Dr. Stephen Greer does with people, that program. But it was one of the people there was saying that, when it first happens, you're going to have fear, and it's going to be scary when you realize what you're doing is working, right? And this particular guy during the documentary said, and that is when it's very okay, and even I would recommend saying, I'm scared. Please help me not be scared right now, because this is scary to me. So I think that could be a component of a part of this practice, because from all the people I've talked to over the years who, have, powerful psychic abilities, there's always that transition when it first starts happening, whether it's after a near-death experience or when they were children and then shut it off and then reawaken it later in life because something happens or they choose to. It's always it's very intense when it happens, and there's a process in trying to get back into being able to integrate it, because I don't think integration is really talked about all that much when it comes to how do you integrate these things into your daily life and not feel like, a whack job,
right? Or
feel like you're losing your mind. I will say this, a few nights ago, I did this pretty powerful meditation during, I think it was the first night of the full moon. And I just really started leaning into it. And I got maybe a little too bold. And I was like, I'm not afraid. I was trying to focus on I'm not scared of seeing things. I'm not scared of seeing things. Help me not be scared of seeing things. And then I was like, show me how I die.
Oh.
And And then like another part of my brain was like, I don't think you should be doing this. And then the other part of my brain was like, hey, I'm not scared. I'm not scared. You can show me how I die. And then the part of my brain was like, are we going too far? And then the other part of my brain was like, stop being a coward, you know? And then the only thing I really saw was I saw like a face that was old, right? Like a very old face that was smiling, but also kind of in pain. Does that make sense? Like someone who's like dying, but like they're glad they lived their life. They're like, I lived a good life. Don't worry about, you know. So I saw this, but I was like, is that my face? Or am I watching someone else die right now? And then I fell asleep.
Oh, I'm just glad you didn't see me standing there with the pillow. Ryan's done.
I was actually going to talk to you after we were done recording about something. I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay. Like
about you and your proclivity towards grasping pillows tightly. But yeah, so I think I'm totally open and definitely want to and feel like I see more things lately than, you know, I did a few years ago for sure when it comes to I mean, I remember after it was probably about a year and a half ago, maybe over a year ago now, when the first time I like purposely tried to see an aura and was able to. Wow. And I think that was a pretty cool moment for me. And ever since then, I've, you know, because as much as I'm into all this stuff and, you know, believe all this stuff and have had, you know, pretty wild experiences, there's still that part of me, and it's not a small part of me, that wants to think like, this is all just bullshit, man. Like, you know, like, is none of it. You're kind of living in a fantasy world, you know, that skeptic part of me that's been raised by the society we live in. He's still in there. And so there'll be like, I mean, one time I was having a session with the shamanic Reiki healer named Sarah, who I've seen a few times. And, you know, we were talking about that, and she's like, you have to release here. Like you're really kind of blocking. You're really blocking. And I was like, I know. I'm like, as much. I mean, I have a paranormal podcast. I go on investigations. You know, all this other. I read all these books, and I'm still like resistant to, you know, being totally open to it. So, I mean, that's something I've been working on for a while, is like really opening up to it. And I don't think there's any shame in admitting that kind of stuff. You know, no. Too often we feel like this is something that I'm into and I believe in. And then it's like, no, and I'm 100%, please don't doubt me. Oh, no, I'm not a fraud. It's like, no, it's not about being a fraud. It's about, you know, what is your personal journey and your experience.
Yeah, it's funny because I think my inner skeptic says, "Oh, Ryan could do that, but you can't."
See,
or another psychic can do it, but you. And then I find out I've been doing the same thing, or sort of. Mine hits that inner, but there's always a voice going that this doesn't happen. You know what's really interesting? You and I should try this sometime, because I know we have all the time in the world with our 72 podcasts and whatever stuff. I'm a little obsessed with spoon bending. And there's a way to do it. And I know people that have done it. And I mean, maybe I'm thinking that that's the ultimate. I told you I could do it, but I'm not positive, you know. But I think I would love to find the theories and work on that, because I think if I could see that happening, I could pretty much step into anything. Does that make sense how I said that?
Yeah, it does. And, I totally understand what you're saying. It's one of those proofs in the pudding kind of moments. And, well, if I could just see this, then I would be this, right?
Yeah.
And it reminds me of, I used to have this bit in my act where it's like, when it comes to people who want to believe in Bigfoot and don't, and they say, well, if you showed me this evidence, I'd believe. And then that evidence is presented to them, and they just keep moving the line in the sand a little bit further back. And they're like, okay, well, and then they do their damnedest to debunk whatever that evidence is and demand further evidence. And it just keeps going and going and going to the point where it's like, well, you know, if I was having dinner with Bigfoot and he told me he was Bigfoot or it was Bigfoot, then I'd believe in Bigfoot. It's like, is that where this ends?
Right.
You
if
like
he tucks you in the bed.
playing pool with Sasquatch. So I do think I have to be careful when it comes to like whether it's the doubting Thomas, aspect of, because I've had enough experiences to where it's like, well, what are you talking about? I'm like, how do you not, whether it's EVPs, like a friend of mine just messaged me the other day about this EVP I got at Renwick Mansion. I think a year and a half ago when I was doing a comedy show and staying the night there, and I forgot all about it until, they messaged me about it and they wanted me to send them the little video. And it's just like, oh yeah, it's like, I've been given plenty of evidence, and it's pretty much, it's on me now, whether I'm making a choice to be, to slowly be closing or to be opening. It's like we're a store.
You are you are the most introspective person, like philosophical like you are a philosopher. You open my mind every time you say something, and then I cut you off. That's what I do. I go, that's enough. I go, that's too deep. Stop.
Where's the joke, Ryan? Where's the joke?
Well, you know what? And I have to take my bread out of the oven, but I have to say, I love the way you said that's the ultimate. But here's what I figure: once we learn spoon bending, I say we go to Soup Plantation and ruin everyone's day.
Make everyone's day.
Just keep bending the spoon so no one. Can eat.
I see what you mean. Now they can't eat the soup. Why did you do this? Why did you bend all the spoons with your mind? Because you should be drinking soup from the bowl, like soup was intended to be consumed.
That's right.
I'm a bowl drinker when it comes to soup. I mean, I won't do it around people that are like having a proper dinner, but if given the chance, I would drink cereal, I would drink soup straight from the bowl.
I go right in with my tongue. I don't touch it. I lean over and I lap.
You lap it up like a cat.
I'm like a cat. Hang on 1 second, folks. We'll be right back.
Psychic teas, spelled with a Z, are scrumptious herbal combinations with antiviral and anti-inflammatory properties. Without sugar or caffeine, psychic teas won't mess with any medications and are designed by a naturopathic doctor. Many testify to positive results. Detox chakras and psychic tea blends enable bodily functions with superior efficacy, while more love and champagne blends support awareness of subtle joy and bliss. The CBD's teas are magical with myriad healing effects. There are 20 servings per package. A little dabble do ya, and you can drink it hot or cold. Psychic teas taste so good. Replace coffee, use as a bedtime ritual, or even flavor a meal or dessert. The people behind the product are righteous and kind. Psychic teas will blow your mind. Totally worth the investment. Psychic Teas with a Z.com.
All right, so now I have I've made 1 million notes, and I'm going to throw them all away. They say investigation, thoth, stop eating, change super, whatever. Those are the notes I've made. I don't know what they mean, but you're here to talk about your new app. Tell me about your new app. This is exciting.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited. Excuse me. The app's called CRYSTALEYES, and I remember it was probably at least 3.5 years ago or 4 years ago. I had this idea where, if you're anything like me, I can never remember what all my crystals are. Like, I can never remember the order of the astrological signs. I just, maybe it's because I haven't dedicated my mind to it, but I've never been able to organize and have recall in that way. And I'll back in the past, I'd pick up a crystal somewhere and I'd be like, there's no way I'm going to forget what this one is. Look how beautiful it is. This thing is so cool. There's no way I'll forget it. And I'll even sit in the store and be like, this is iolite. This is iolite. This is iolite. And people are like, what's going on over there? And, is that like Rain Man? There's 72 iolite polished crystals. So, and then, sure enough, I'll put, I'll transition to, having other crystals that I focus on. And then 6 months later, I'll pick up that iolite and be like, what is this beautiful crystal? Why can't I remember? Oh, I can't believe I forgot what this is. And I was like, if I could just take a picture of this crystal and have my phone tell me what it was, that would be amazing. And so I was like, I need to make an app that's like an identifier app, a photo identifier app for crystals. And I was like, I don't know anything about apps. I don't know anything about, all this stuff. So I was like, how am I, I can't do that. And then about a year and a half ago, or maybe even longer now, I have these 3 cousins in Cincinnati they're just great. I've known them since I was a little kid. I mean, obviously they're cousins, but the reason I met them, so to speak, as opposed to like growing up with them, just as you would with family members, is because they were born in Nigeria.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah. So my dad's cousin married a professor in Nigeria, and she stayed there. They had children, and they would send their kids over who were about the same age as my brother and sister and I. And so they'd stay at our house during the summers. And so we became very close and always got along really well. And then they, went to school in the United States for college and then stayed here. And they're these great, businessmen. They're all very, one's like a website builder, another one's a software developer, another one's just kind of a straight up businessman who also is on the tech side of things. So I was like, I got to talk to the Yohas about making this app. And so slowly but surely we start having meetings every week, and then boom, here we are. What was just an idea and a thought has now become, now lives inside my cell phone, which is really, really fun. And there's no way it ever would have happened without them. Wow. And so CRYSTALEYES is and it started as just, I want to take a photo and know what my crystal is. And it became something so much bigger and more important, in my opinion, with the awareness of ethically sourced crystals becoming very prominent in my mind, and by no credit to me alone. I didn't just one day wake up and be like, where are these crystals coming from? It was brought to my attention by other people. And it's almost like it's a real shadow game, because there's no transparency in supply chain. And what struck me as crazy was these are tools that people are using to heal and to feel good or to manifest, great things in their life. And so many of them are being sourced from hurt and harm, right? And how can a tool that you believe is going to help you, how can it even be effective, no matter how many times you cleanse it or all these other things, if it's sourced from such harm? And, and it is a mineral and it comes from the earth. Well, unless it's moldavite or tektite, then it comes from space. But, and not to say that it is, has generational trauma or something, you know what I mean? Like people do, but who knows?
We don't know how they're mining them out in space. Could be aliens.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That meteorite could have been thrown by one celestial being at another during a domestic dispute. So now it's turned into much more than just an identification app. What we're doing is we're trying to showcase and create value for the people who, create real market value for the people who are going out of their way and have been going out of their way for a long time, to ensure that the crystals that they're bringing to people are from sources that are following regulations, they're not, abusing local communities or stripping them from their local resources and cutting and running or destroying the water supply. They're taking care of the people who are, the workers of the mines actually have, rights and protections. And so, that became a big focus. That became a big focus for the app. And, whether it's working with IRMA, which is the Initiative for Responsible Mining Alliance, and, which is like a worldwide, their focus is worldwide, and they work with the largest scale mines around the world. And they have partnerships on their board with whether it's Microsoft or the United Steelworkers Union, Earthworks, which is a non-government organization. It's like a nonprofit that's trying to protect the environment. They have all of these people involved. And so whether it's like partnering with them, working with them, trying to provide information, we're just trying to be a funnel for information, for source transparency, and helping people understand where do these beautiful, wonderful best friends that everyone loves putting in their pocket, where are they coming from? And we want them to feel good about that. And not to mention giving information about crystals in a much easier way, so people don't have to go through 4 different large textbooks, while they're at home trying to find information on crystals. They can just look it up on their phone, and they can also keep track of it in a personal collection that they'll have through the app. And in showcasing, content creators and other people who are providing, valuable content for the people who are into crystals, someone like yourself, whether it's, the tarot class, that you work so hard on making, and, showcasing things like that for people. So, we're just so excited to, have it out there.
Oh, this is brilliant, Ryan. It's number one, it's brilliant. And like you said, the rabbit hole that you went down to making them, where are they being sourced from? That is just the karma on top of the cupcake. That's really good. And it's funny because I watched I always watch this guy on Astrology Report, and he was saying, I'm not sure on all this information, but he was saying viruses come from animals, and Mother Earth is mad. So get ready. You know what I mean? Like, it's a way that we got to clean up our act. And this is just such a smart, it's funny. It's a never-ending hole, because I was thinking, I'll be watching this on my iPhone that is made by kids. But it's a step. You know what I mean? Everything is a step. But I think this is freaking brilliant, including if I had made the app, everything would have just come up as amethyst. That's all I know. You've got that's an amethyst. I know it doesn't look like it. And
it's a work in progress. And like the identification process is it's machine learning. So it's AI. And the more people who are using the app and taking photos and identifying crystals, the smarter it gets. It'll get better over time, because as we know, so many crystals are nearly identical looking. So obviously it's not going to be an exact science when it comes to, well, is this Lemurian quartz or is this clear quartz? It's like, okay, well, there are limitations to what this thing can do. And upon launch, we have over 300 crystals in the database, but 100 of them will be the identifiable through the machine learning. And then throughout time, as we, build out, we will eventually build out to hopefully being able to identify all 300 plus crystals for people. But upon launch, 100 it'll be able to identify 100 crystals by photo with some degree of certainty. Keep that in mind for people. And it gets smarter the more people use it, and it'll get better and better the more people use it, which is something we're really excited about, that it grows with us and not in a like singularity, Terminator style kind of, this app isn't going to like try to take over the world and, destroy all the humans. That's not what I mean by, artificial intelligence. But so we're really excited about it getting better. And there's a free version that people can use, and we love it if people want to just use the free version. And then there's the subscription based, which is a monthly subscription, which will fund the research. And, because trying to discover ethical source information and getting to the bottom of all of this, and it's been taking a long time. And there's a lot of research and a lot of conversations I'm having with people I can't believe I'm having a conversation with. I'm a comedian who does, paranormal investigations. Now I'm talking to this woman at Irma about, all these like large scale mining practices, and whether it's talking with her or like the smaller staff or the smaller scale stuff like craft, which is a protocol they develop protocols for like artisanal mining, and like the smaller scale stuff where a lot of crystals do come from. And because, to be frank, a lot of these privately owned, family owned mines that might have 1 or 2 different crystals that come out of them, they don't have the resources to be able to, at least at this time, be following all of the protocols that over 10 years Irma has developed across all aspects of the industry, whether it's the affected communities or the large mines and everything in between. They don't have the money or the resources to be able to be implementing all of these kind of, regulations and things like that. I mean, because it's like, hey, we're a mom and pop shop here. That so we can't afford to, or we just don't have the means to be able to do that. So there are other scales of ways to do that, and we're just trying to shine a light on that. We're trying to build those relationships, and that's what it's really all about for us. Like, if we can create value for people and fill a void in the marketplace, which is clearly there, the rest is gravy, and so in. As long as, we did it the right way, which we think we did, and, we're delivering what we promise, which is being able to identify the crystals with, some degree of certainty for people, and just making their life easier, and just making it quicker and easier for them and convenient. And
I don't know anyone that has less than 100 crystals, and I'm not kidding. People have crystals everywhere.
Yeah, it's a condition. And
it's a phobia. It's a non-crystal
condition.
And you know what, Ryan? Let's put up a free ad on my podcast for it and just keep it running for a while so people will join, because I think this is just, first of all, I can't imagine too many people that listen to my podcast that aren't already looking it up and signing up for it because it's so in our zone. But let's just make sure everybody knows, especially that ethical part. That's really, I remember you telling me about that part, but I'm kind of, I'm in awe of the work you're doing, my friend.
Well, thank you. And I got to tell you, I had no idea what I was getting into with this. And it's really taking me down so many different roads and rabbit holes. And we're really excited about all the different partners and the content contributors that are, because it's more than just, providing information about ethically sourced crystals and being able to snap a photo of a crystal and know what it is, or keep a collection. It's about all the different creators and people who are putting out wonderful information for each other to share their knowledge. Like yourself and other people that we've got that are contributing to the content that is, constantly updated. Mm-hmm. So, and we'll be coming for people.
I love that. We'll be coming for you. And yes, we had talked about that other thing, but I would love to be linked to in the way that we spoke. I'm being very cryptic now. Like, I couldn't wait till we turn off. I'd like to be linked to this association in the way that we discussed.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm just assuming that, since the app will be on the market when this comes out, people will be able to see your smiling face there.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm a little blown away, Ryan. I cannot even imagine the amount of research and stuff that you had to gather.
Well, and it's ongoing too. And it's, the work just begins when we launch, and it really has become a full-time job. And so, it's like, make the best out of a bad situation is, something we always hear in our lives. And the fact that I haven't been able to tour at all to do comedy has allowed me to, work from home on this. And, I've had to shelve other things and stop doing other projects because of how consuming, and, I just knew this was taking priority over other things. So, like one of my other podcasts, I had to stop doing that a while ago. I just didn't have the time for it anymore, unfortunately. So, but yeah, it has demanded, a lot of time. But I'm just really excited for people, and I hope and I think it just looks so cool too. Like, I love the design, and I hope people love it, and so they can it's on Google Play, it's on Android, and it's on iPhone. So they can get it at in either store.
Awesome. Well, you know what, too? We should do we'll do a Facebook Live sometime, too, to get this rolling. A whole bunch of stuff. I actually have professional publicists that are forcing me to do things that I didn't even know about happened, that I'm like, I'm a comedian, I'll tweet it. They're like, no. You got to do stuff. But that's fantastic, Ryan. All right. So tell us also all the places where people can find you. And I understand that having to drop a podcast, there is so much stuff in 2021. I think I'm just going to have to start saying no to that I can't squeeze in. And that's part of, I guess, priorities and making ourselves better.
Yeah, I agree. And because, we're doing ourselves a disservice, and we're doing others a disservice if we can't actually be there, so to speak, for the things that we agree to do. And I remember it was a few years ago, my New Year's resolution was to say no to more things.
I think, that's a good one.
And, I still need a lot of practice and work on that. But, it's important to make sure that, we can, first of all, be our best selves for ourselves, and then for everyone else around us, and for all the things that we agree to do for people too. And so it's, that's an important thing. But if people want to find, people can find me on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, all that stuff, my website. But CRYSTALEYES.app is the website for the app. That's CRYSTALEYES, EYES. So all one word. So CRYSTALEYES .app, and then it's RyanSingerComedy.com. But Instagram is Rysing, Twitter's Rysing, RYSING. So people can find all that there. And me and Paranormal U is the podcast.
Yes, and if they go to RyanSinger.com, they can find everything, right?
Oh, RyanSingerComedy.com.
RyanSingerComedy.com. Okay.
I gave up RyanSinger.com years ago to an architect who lives in the OC in Orange County. We had lunch down outside the Irvine Improv one day. I was doing a show down there, and this was after I'd given him the website domain, because this was many years ago, and I was like, I'm not going to learn how to build a website. And this was like before WordPress and all that stuff happened. And I gave him RyanSinger.com, and at the time, and then years later, I was like, why did I do that? And now I'm just like, who cares?
Right. You know what? People will find, it's like when I try to do my best to get the show notes right, but every once in a while I'll get something wrong, and I'm like, they'll know, they'll find you. You know what I mean?
They'll figure it out. People will figure it out. If people want to go there, they'll figure it out. So, I know I'm that way with things. So, everyththing's so easy nowadays.
I know.
But I appreciate it, Karen. I appreciate you being a partner and, contributing to CRYSTALEYES, and, hopefully, the idea is that a lot more people, around the world and otherwise are going to be able to discover the wonder that is Rontowski.
The wonder, is it a curse or is it a gift? Awesome. Okay, so everybody knows where to find you. Always a pleasure, my friend. Always so glad to have you on. This is a great thing. We're going to continue to talk about it. And Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you as well. And we're probably already living our best lives, a couple months later by the time this comes out.
Right. We already got wings and we're seeing things, and it's awesome.
We got wings and we're seeing things. I love that.
That's our new, and we're yelling at sponges. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media for all his help this year. I hope you are all well, and the revolution is quiet and quick. All right. Have a good day.